Alright, let's review some of Luiz's gameplay. Couple things to look out for. Passing and setting, we'll look at your platform, holding your platform, not swinging your platform, trying to get low and under the ball and like gently pushing it forward while holding your platform. Getting to the ball quickly so you can set up proper footwork. Trying to face the antenna when you pass and set. That's critical and pretty easy thing to work on. Maybe some blocking decisions, maybe defensive positioning. We'll see about that, and then probably just your approach and arm swing when hitting. Some things we'll look at. Maybe, we'll leave it at that. I think out of this, I'll be able to help the most on providing feedback on setting up proper passing and setting. I need to change this audio to I'm gonna pause this real quick. Let's see. I need to change this to my Yeti. Alright. We can even start with this one. That's a good example. Pretty consistent. So we'll just say here, you're in an athletic position here. You have your legs bent, but one thing Brandon's helped me think about is like trying to keep your arms connected with your legs. So here, your arms end up being disconnected from your legs. They're like both working separately. You're in a low stance, which is good here, but you want to push up with your legs at the same time as your arms. Right now, even though they're bent, you're not really using your legs. So what ends up happening is you end up contacting this ball with your platform probably a little bit higher than what you should. Like you want to contact the ball down here. I think you end up doing it like a little bit up here, and then you swing your arms a little bit, and then it's just like kind of an unpredictable ball. Whereas if you get further under it and then lift with your legs, it's going to be a easier set to read and like a more consistent set. But instead of lifting with your legs, you're swinging with your arms to compensate. Henry's going way out here. This is going to be a difficult position for success. He should be over here, but because it's just hard to set to his right hand here. But yikes. Yikes. It's pretty small. Alright, we're gonna look at this. So Henry ends up, getting the best out of this, but you can provide a lot of consistency here. So, they set Henry the ball. At this moment, you can start moving to the target. Instead, you kind of wait, see where it goes. Sometimes it's difficult when the serve is somewhat middle, but okay, and you move and then you end up having to go back. Like, you realize you have to go to the target, the ball's on the target, and then you gotta go backwards. But instead of like opening up, like you want your body to be here and then facing the antenna. So now like Henry just can't be as certain where this set's gonna go consistently, and like you want to set it probably somewhere over here. And even if you do end up setting it over there, it's gonna be easier for Henry to time and track this ball if you're facing the antenna. This is a play where like you definitely could have got behind this ball over here and faced the antenna. That was a good pass. So, but like Henry has to make an adjustment. He can't attack it normally, and like it's still good enough, but he's not going to be able to score as consistently if you're able to just set the ball to the antenna. It's going to be more consistent. I'm gonna look at this pass too, and the block. Okay, so I mean, at this point, you should be you should be like here. Henry's most likely going to pass the ball like anywhere from like this range. So at the least, like you should already be here, predict where he's gonna pass the ball, so you don't have to move as much in order to set up your set. So you kind of get there late when you could have already been here. And then what happens is kind of similar to before. Your legs are in a bent stance, but then it's just all arm swing. So I would have liked it more to like push upwards with your legs, and then you could be a little bit more gentle with your arms, and then you could push this ball a little bit more. He has to you pull him a little bit on this set, and I think the real source of it is just because you got here kind of late. And then this decision, like you want to block. If you want to block, just like be up at the tape. Like you're saving yourself a foot here. It would be better just to be at the tape, and if you want to peel, then peel. But I'll also say that in general, like you're pretty good at defending and picking up balls, and like Moj and I are not excelling at attacking. So like you should be able to scoop up most balls on defense without a block. I'd probably not block. And then like because you have to take this extra step, it's just harder to time this block. So you end up actually, I think you might have been like a little bit late. I don't know, but it did make it easier for Henry. But I think you guys are scooping this ball up regardless, and then you're going to be in a better position to set if you weren't blocking. This was alright. There's some better examples later, I think, what we can talk about. This is a much harder example of like you could have cheated to the target here and maybe gotten this ball. It's definitely more challenging. I do this a lot where I'm just like looking and then I don't go. But if you would have cheated, you could have actually gotten this ball. This is more difficult, but it's like something to think about. If you were just a step further, you could add that. Kind of same thing with that pass. Like you could have got there earlier. And then like you're blocking Moj when like he's just not going to be an offensive threat. Like you and Henry are actually both pretty good at defense. You don't need to block this. Even if it's a tight set, it's fine. But even if you do want to block, you should be there to block early, and then decide to block. You shouldn't like go halvesies because you're kind of late and you actually got a hand on this ball. But then it ends up hurting your team. If you would have been there early, maybe you could have had an extra inch of height and then got a real block. But instead, it deflects off your hand, and it's a point for us. So I don't know how many times I'm going to say this more. Maybe this will be the last time. But just take a look at how much you're actually using your legs and how much you're actually using your arms, because you got into an okay spot here, but then it's just all arms. You're not using your legs to push the ball forward. So you could do a little bit more of a push with your legs. What's helped me is like pushing actually with your back leg, having a firm stance with your back leg, and then pushing off with your back leg so that you go forwards, instead of just relying on your arms. And then here, when you're playing on the left side, it's the camera's right. You can get outside and like direct your shoulders like this, and it appears like a good player will actually do that. But I think you're a little bit too closed off, especially if you don't know how to do a real high line shot, because like I can just tell like right now, your shoulders are going this way. You're never going over here. It's like if I'm Moj, I'd be in this spot and I should be, you know, cheating over more. Um, until you develop like a real high line shot, like a better defender is gonna be able to read this, and I'll show you what I mean by that with another clip here. But it's um, I'll be able to read that. Let me show you this other clip. You know, I don't know if this is like the greatest example because he's much better, but like this is something that a better player can do that we kind of can't do, and until you develop this, it's just gonna be kind of easy to read. So this is Brandon. You know, he gets an outside serve. He continues being outside, and then his shoulders, like here, are very, you know, they're pointed pretty diagonally too. He has, but with his hand movement at the end, with his like his wrist snap, he's able to hit a high line shot. So, like on one hand, your shoulders are very, your shoulders are telegraphing this hit. Because like you don't have the high line shot. No, I'm going too far back, I think. So it's not necessarily that bad if you develop the high line shot, but until you develop the high line shot, it's going to be very obvious where you go. So like you're just never hitting this ball here. Mo's just like waiting for like a down ball here. Like that's not happening. Your entire body's here. Your hand is up. Like you're going over here all day. And Mo should be able to at least like cheat. Like Mo should be right here. But if you had a real like high line shot, then you could actually hit the ball here, even though your shoulders are pretty squared up over here. And like what I did, it's not the best example. I think I just ended up twisting at the end. I didn't like really use my hands to twist. I just twisted my body, which I don't know. Because here my shoulders are not as squared off, and then it allowed me to make like a smaller adjustment and still hit line. So here, I don't know if it's not an accident, but you're like, in a sense, you're already cheating towards this target, so you don't have to move as much. You're in a better stance. One thing I will say about this though is your footwork is backwards. This foot towards the net should be in front, and sometimes that'll lead to you like setting away from your partner. Like you'll be setting him inside, which you always want to set to your partner's right hand. It's going to get you, maybe not here, but sometimes. Especially when you're bump setting. Like here, I think it makes more of an impact. You have the wrong foot in front, and like it's gonna be harder to use your legs properly and push the ball forward. And I think you end up kind of pulling him because of this. And then like Mo should have had that ball, but Mo should push me. Oh, no problem. Here, this is backwards again. You know, ideally you could hand set this, but that's a conversation for a different day. You could start moving a little bit quicker this ball, but it's fine. And then I don't remember what happens here, but just try to think about like using your legs and your arms as one. You know, you're moving your entire body together instead of just like your legs being in the spot, but then just end up using your arms. So I think what could maybe a cue that could help you would be, let me see if I can pause it at the right. Like you're gonna make contact with the ball like here. You want to maybe try to get a little bit lower and contact the ball, or like further down and use your legs to push up. Because like when you make the contact that high up, I wonder if I can actually freeze it. you don't really have space to use your legs anymore. Whereas if you make contact further down, you can use your legs to rise up. You can't use your legs if you're making this high contact. Like this was actually a better example with Moj. Too late. Like Moj makes his platform really low, and then he's actually able to like use his legs to rise up here. His platform's gotten much better. Look where he's starting his platform, and like look where you tend to start your platform. Like I think you should benefit a lot by starting your platform much lower. Here, like he's starting his platform low, and I'm pretty sure he's using his legs to push up. He like does this little hop forward, which is okay. He still like does some arm swinging, but at least like he's using his body together, and like a lot of that starts from having his platform just starting low. It gives him space to use his entire body. Yeah, and I mean that pass ends up like dying, but I think it looks better. Tough. Got him. Got him. Better set by Moj. Moj actually like pushed the ball forward there. It's nice. Here, and this is kind of out of place because this is a tougher serve and he's like really outside, but you could follow him even more. But okay, he does push this ball, and then you end up falling backwards. It's tough because it's just this pass is going to be very unreliable. So, but yeah, do notice like instead of ending up forwards, you end up falling backwards, and that's what happens in the set. And you pull Henry to his left hand, and it's going to be hard for him to hit the ball out. It's more just a bad pass, but so like at least good to see what happened. Yikes. It's too funny. There you actually started the platform low, but you didn't use your legs. You're still just only using arms. But I think that the low start is beneficial. Nice set by Moj. Actually pushing the ball forward. A lot of the same stuff. Oof. It's an unreal play. Good serve. So here, like, it's the same thing, but just think about, you're in an okay starting spot here. Now you just have to use your legs. I think you could do, think about driving with your back leg and going, finishing forwards. Here, you're kind of finishing upright, swinging the arms. So this set, it's two inside. It's like you could push this a little bit. It was also kind of high, even though he's on the ground, but. think legs were crossed here, and then you end up pulling your right leg's in front, and then you kind of end up this way. Whereas, you know, you could face the antenna more and then push that way, and then you could ensure the ball actually goes that way. More falling backwards, but still alright. Better set. Better hit. You can notice, like, Moj, like, sometimes he kind of finishes upright or backwards, and sometimes he's pushing the set in this footage, and, like, whenever he's actually using his body to push, like, it's just a much better set. And it's the same when you're doing bump sets. Good D. Oh. That was a good play behind me. We're gonna look at this. Hopefully, this is a good example. You know, I'm getting the spot. Hopefully, I'm still making this contact is too high, but hopefully at least I'm giving myself the ability to like push just a little bit with my legs. But this is too much of an arm swing. I'm breaking my platform. But at least, like, you know, I end a little bit forwards. So like I'm allowed, like, it gives me the ability to like make some mistakes, whereas like if this foot's in front and I don't use my legs, then this set goes to the left and Moj gonna get screwed. But instead it's a pretty good outcome. No, it could be better. I think it's still like a predictable set. It's very important. It's a shame. Stay in front of it. Gotta do a little bit more here, see if we can see anything. That pass is really good by Moj. Ruins it though. Could have been my set, I don't remember about. We got a score here. Ugh. Like, this is what we have to lock in on. This is a really easy pass. This is a broken record, but you know, you get here, and then this is backwards. Your arm swinging, and because of this footwork, you're pulling the ball to the left, and then Henry has to make an adjustment, and he hits the ball lefty. Like, that was a free ball, you know. Gotta get a good ball on those. Oof. Super early here. You know what happens on this approach? Let's watch. So you're like you're in line or like almost ahead of him here. I think it would be better to be maybe like here, at least, you know, behind him, because now you have to look backwards at the ball and then still get to the ball. You don't want to look backwards. You always want to look forwards. So then it was just harder to time this ball because you started so far up. Even if you would have hit it, you would have been early and like kind of predictable, not explosive. Ah, Moj. Oof. I think that was the game. We'll stop there. Maybe do one more play. Nice pass. See, like, Moj should be all over that. You're not as squared off here, but like, you know, I would definitely be taking a step to the inside here if I was Moj, just because you're so squared off and you haven't hit line once in this position. So like this is your line shot. You end up squaring up in the middle of the court. It would be really difficult for you to hit a harder line than this, until you, I don't know, develop like the wrist snapping mechanic of doing like what Brandon does, for instance. But this is Moj's ball. Going stroking spree here. I think we should stop here. So, and like one parting thought with the passing is just like, I see you kind of popping the ball with your arms like here. It like pops it. I want you to think you're like guiding the ball with your legs and your arms instead of just popping it. All right, we'll stop there. Hopefully it's helpful. Weak.